Hello, 9 to 5ers. Welcome back to 9 to 5 and everything in between with Elizabeth Ajadi. Today, we're going to be talking about the consumer-driven domino effect, how our choices are reshaping the real estate market and our communities.
I'd say the first one is this whole work from home concept, or that behavioral change really impacted downtowns as we know them.
We'll discuss how shifts in commercial real estate aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet.
Everyone ordering through Amazon is just eroding all of these.
Our retail spaces.
Our retail.
Taking a look at the challenges and unexpected opportunities that arise when commercial spaces evolve, encouraging our audience to see beyond the headlines and understand the deeper implication for society.
When was the last time you went into a bank branch?
Months.
Exactly.
Joining us today is Damon, a seasoned professional with a comprehensive understanding of the commercial real estate landscape. For his entire career, Damon has served as a trusted advisor and broker, known for his pragmatic approach and sharp analytical mind. His expertise spans strategic planning, portfolio management, and financial analysis, allowing him to develop practical solutions for a wide array of clients, from corporations to nonprofit. Damon is currently CEO and principal of Allegro Realty Advisory. He assists clients globally with both purchasing and leasing commercial properties. This transactional mastery is complemented by his strategic consulting work, providing organizations with crucial guidance on their real estate portfolios. Let's hear what he has to share.
Hi, I'm Damon, Principal and CEO at Allegro Real Estate Brokers and Advisors. I am here with Elizabeth on the 9 to 5 and everything in between podcast, talking about how our actions impact the real estate we see around us.
Hi 9 to 5ers, I'm Elizabeth Ajadi, host of 9 to 5 and everything in between. Today we're going to be talking about the consumer-driven domino effect, how our choices are reshaping the real estate market and our communities. We have in the studio with us Damon Tassif. He's the CEO and principal of Allegro Realty Advisory. Has been there for 20 plus years?
20 plus years.
20 plus years, amazing. And we are going to be having a conversation around how our choices are shaping real estate and our communities, essentially. But first, we're going to go through just quick update, what's been going on with you, what's going on with me, what's going on in our professional worlds. Like always, we're going to do a workplace scenario because what's an episode without what would Elizabeth do? Or in this case, what would Damon do? And we're going to explore just different areas of things, changes, economic factors, political factors, different things that are impacting real estate, but also how we ourselves are impacting it. What can we do? What can we expect from the market in the future? And then we'll recap and close out the episode. So Damon, first of all, welcome and thank you for joining us on today's episode on this conversation. It's a conversation that I'm deeply passionate about, first because I've worked in the real estate industry for the last 4 years. I feel like I just found myself in it. But the more I learned about it, the more interested I got in. First of all, wow, okay, real estate is a cool thing. You know how people talk about, oh, real estate appreciates, it can stay in the family for decades. You know, you hear these things anecdotally for years, but being in it, you start to understand, oh, that's true. But at the same time, you look around and you see shifts in people no longer going to big box stores, and suddenly malls that I used to go to 12 years ago when I moved here are closing down, and it's like, what's going on and what can we do? I would like to see foot traffic in my neighborhood. I would like to see my neighborhood being revitalized, and all of that is driven by how the relationship we have with the real estate around us.
Yeah, very true. And people talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Because I would say that everywhere you look, you see some type of commercial real estate, whether it's the theater at the end of your street,
Yeah.
or the shopping plaza, or the office towers you drive by down, when you're going through a downtown in any
Yes.
metro area of the
Yes.
United States. Everyone can see it, so everyone can have an opinion on it and
Yes.
talk about it, and it's interesting to people, and they like to see cranes and new construction. So it's a common topic. It's
Yeah.
almost like sports. People always have an opinion what should happen at the end of my street, or
Yeah.
what should happen at the town center. So
Yeah.
people constantly are talking about commercial real estate. Commercial real estate is a big word. There's a lot of components that go into commercial real estate.
Yes.
Retail.
Yes.
Right, so retail could be anything from a large mall to the coffee shop at the end of your street.
Yes.
Right? Then you've got office space, which
Yes.
is the big downtown office buildings where you work.
Yeah.
Or it could be a small therapist's office in the
Yes.
suburb.
Yes.
Right, so you've got retail, you've got office, you've got industrial, which is the large distribution facilities,
Correct.
manufacturing facilities, and then you can splice it again and get into the whole multifamily sector, which is apartment buildings. You're familiar with those. Anything that's like down to a 4-unit brick apartment building, and then you've got your residential, which
Yes.
everybody's familiar with that.
There's just a variety of real estate.
Lots of facets.
Yes.
So there's a lot of topics to talk about.
course.
Our behaviors impact all of this stuff.
Yes.
It changes, what we see on our skylines.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And we're going to talk about it because I'm getting a lot of ideas, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole yet. But bookmarking that in my brain and in my notes.
We've got all the time in the world in your beautiful studio.
Thank you so much. So, what's going on in your world?
In my world, professionally.
Professionally or even personally?
Well, professionally and personally, I think probably I'm like everybody else, just trying to swim, keep my head above the tide.
Yeah.
Work at our company at Allegro is going really well. We continue to grow year over year. Diversify into new practice areas. The biggest challenge, I wouldn't say is a challenge, it's an opportunity, and I think a lot of organizations are struggling with this right now. It's finding the right people. We've got a great team, and we're trying to grow and scale up, and to do that we need more talent.
Correct.
So we're out looking for these people, and I know everyone I'm talking to is also out looking for these people.
Right.
So that's the big challenge / opportunity is how do you find talent moving forward so that you can continue to create a product that your clients appreciate and deserve.
Yes. In the intro episode, I talked about disruptions in the economy and disruptions overall. And one of the points that I made was about talent shortages and how that's really impacting business. And organizations like yours want to get a big bang for your buck. You don't want to just throw money at just any talent. You're looking for that unicorn that's going to go the extra mile and be worthy of the investment that you're making in them. And so that's definitely a disruption that we're seeing, with this generational shift with aging population, aging out of workforce, newer people coming in.
You use the word unicorn, and I've thrown that around as a joke because it feels sometimes like we are out looking for unicorns because we can't find these people. And depending on the roles, it's an uphill battle finding people in all of those positions. You want to find the right people to invest in.
Correct.
Human capital is everything. So
it's everything.
Get the right person and build them up and make them better. So.
Exactly. Well, to our listeners, if you're in the greater Cleveland area or greater Ohio area, Greater Ohio, go check out Allegro Realty Advisory /careers. We'll put the website link to see opportunities. Remember, you have to be a unicorn. You have to come correct. You can't be a wishy-washy talent.
We're looking for people that want that bring a lot of energy, want to build a career, want to help us build our company. So that's what's happening today in my world, professionally, personally. I've got kids. They're in high school now, and so we're just getting ready to call the school year over and enjoy the summertime and begin thinking and talking about colleges.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I did something very outside of the box. I went out and I bought chickens. So we have like baby chickens in our house right now, and we're growing them, and we have a chicken operation in our household for the first time. So
That
it's
is
very
interesting.
unique for me to be a chicken farmer, I guess.
Oh, that is so nice.
You gotta keep it fresh.
Well, you know what? Again, going back to that first episode, I did fixate for some reason on eggs and egg shortages, and so it's interesting that you're talking about raising chickens. Because back home in Nigeria, my mom has a chicken coop, and she has her own chickens and eggs. And when I go home, it's fresh. We pick every morning. And we're good. And every time I go home, I make a video for my Instagram followers. Like,
for your mom's chickens.
Oh, my mom's chickens. Like, hey, look at our chickens. You know, because it's not something that you see every day in the U.S. That is so funny. Oh gosh, I love that. That is very interesting. Not what I was expecting, but I like it.
I threw you a curveball.
And I love it.
Always have to be learning new things. I'm learning all about chickens right now.
For me, professionally, I think it's just being a lot of compliance heavy type of work that I've been doing. The property management aspect of our business is essentially a startup within the Brookfield ecosystem, and so we're constantly evolving, constantly updating systems and talking about shifting talents. I think the broader ecosystem has started to look at talent differently in the way that they structure even our teams as we roll up from one sector to the other, so that we can pull talent from one sector to assist with maybe projects in others as needed, just again because we want to maximize our human capital, but at the same time we see, okay, maybe we have the unicorn already somewhere within the ecosystem. Let's see if we can pull them in for opportunities, and we've definitely been working through that, and it's very interesting to see how it's going, and I'm looking forward to see where we land.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're with a large company, but
yes,
it doesn't matter if you're large or small. Always have to have an entrepreneurial mindset.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
You were just talking before we started about property management software, what you're working through. I mean, I think we're kind of on the beginning edge or crest of how to continue to leverage this new wave of technology coming through with like AI and these long language models. How can we access data quicker? Especially in property management, it's going to help everyone be more efficient, and I think there'll be companies that can adapt and leverage it, and there's companies that will not be able to adapt, and they'll be, left behind or playing catch up. So.
Yes, that's a good segue into our workplace scenario.
Okay, I'm excited. Tell me more.
So this workplace scenario. It's completely fictitious, but could be real. The scenario is, imagine you're a newly appointed director of economic development for your mid-sized city.
Okay.
A large shopping mall, once a central hub in your community, has just announced the closure of its 2 anchor department stores, and several other major retailers are rumored to be leaving. This leaves a significant amount of vacant commercial space and is causing concern among local business owners and residents about declining property values, job losses, and just the overall vibrancy of the area. So what immediate steps would you take in a new role to assess the situation, engage with stakeholders, that is businesses, residents, property owners, and begin exploring potential solutions for the future of this key space to ensure that we keep the community vibrant and healthy?
Oh man. So this is this scenario, it is playing out all over the country, all the time. We've seen a lot of it recently. If I was the economic development director for this region, the first thing that I would probably do is I'd put together a project team, and I would do a little bit of external validation with other communities across the country to see how they have solved the similar issue, what worked and what didn't work. Pay special attention to the communities that failed, so you didn't replicate that strategy. Special attention to the ones that did. All right. So that would, I think, inform a plan for that economic development group to begin trying to put some energy behind. So in the scenario you're laying out, though, what I'd point out is that there are different stakeholders at the table that have different aims or goals.
Correct.
So the owner of the building has equity into it.
Yes.
And he could have investors in it. So they understand there's 2 vacant storefronts or 2 anchor tenants that have disappeared, but they're going to try their darndest to keep their hands on that asset.
Right.
And then there's a lender who has a note on the property.
Correct.
And they have objectives, and they might not be totally aligned with the equity owners.
Right.
And those 2 objectives of those 2 parties might not totally be aligned with the economic development director and or the mayor of the community. Right? So you've got competing agendas.
Yes.
And then you've got just the general supply and demand of commercial real estate market at the community or regional level.
Right.
So how do you thread all of those needles?
Right.
Very, very difficult to do. Looking at other communities, seeing how they have best solved for this would provide a little bit of good guidance for this scenario.
Yes.
Once you have your plan, you're going to have to bring these people to the table and figure out what the solution is.
Correct.
Sometimes I've seen these economic development groups, they will be a mover and try to acquire the asset, which that is a different strategy versus being a facilitator for the redevelopment. So that's a critical question that needs to be discussed.
Right.
Do we want to step into the fold and be the person the organization that owns this real estate? Or is that a good thing for our community? Or should we try to facilitate a solution that works for the other stakeholders?
That's a great point.
You mentioned the community needs. The community needs might not align with supply and demand of the marketplace, what the market wants.
Yeah.
Right? The community might want a grocery store.
True.
Market might say there's no need for another grocery store here.
This is true.
So that would then say to the economic development group, we need to figure out a way to incentivize the retailer to show up.
Yes. And what type of retailers do we incentivize?
Yeah, I mean, there might really not be a need for more retail.
Correct.
So someone's going to have to break the news to the community. Retail's not in the cards, but maybe we can get housing in a coffee shop. I wouldn't say there's a great game plan for that scenario other than, looking out, developing some case studies as to how it's been solved elsewhere, getting the stakeholders, lender, owner to the table, figuring out where you as a community have some leverage, trying to figure out a win-win. Yeah. There's not much you can do as a community if there's vacancy in a retail plaza or a mall and the debt's still being serviced and there's nothing you can do. You can do code enforcement and try to create some leverage that way, but if it's a sticky wicket for sure.
It's a sticky one.
So.
And we see that happening and it's impacting our communities today because outside of this being a fictitious scenario, it's actually a real life scenario that we have all around us. Here
where we live, you've had malls scraped, repositioned as distribution.
Yes.
You have had malls scraped and repositioned as nice retail. And I think you could look at Westgate for that example.
Yes.
And you can see some malls that are kind of still trying to figure out what they're going to do. I think a lot of it has to do with demographics, supply, demand of the marketplace, and that will kind of dictate what can actually happen at the site.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yes, it is. Can I come back to the stadium situation? And the reason why I personally am interested in your thoughts, and it doesn't have to be, any detailed breakdown of, we're just chatting. The proposal is for the new stadium for the Cleveland Browns to come to my neighborhood, actually Brooklyn, Ohio here, which would be very good for property value wise in the long run, and I think it would be very good for the businesses in this area as well. However, I also love downtown Cleveland, and so I'm torn because I want a downtown that's full of vitality and it's alive. Because a friend of mine recently moved here, and his comment was, "Why is it always so dark downtown?" He has an apartment downtown. I said, because it's mostly offices. We all go home at night. That's why. Maybe if more apartment buildings came here, if more interesting things, activities came down here, and it would feel alive a little bit more. And so I would hate for the stadium to be gone as well. That's maybe one of the only things that keeps the weekends busy, or even game days, busy for small businesses down there as well. So I'm conflicted in, not that I have any skin in the game whatsoever, or neither can I move the needle on any decision that's made, but I'm intrigued what you think.
Everybody has an opinion on this, right? I'm not a big fan of using public tax dollars for stadiums. It's generally accepted here in the United States. In Europe, there is no public subsidy for soccer stadiums.
Yes.
And the same American owners own those teams.
Correct.
But here, for some reason, we are
Let
okay
that
with
fly.
it. So that's a big question mark I have. Why do we subsidize sports stadiums? I understand there are deferred maintenance issues with the current stadium.
Okay.
That are part of the infrastructure. It's too old, cannot be cost effectively renovated. I don't know. I haven't seen those reports.
Yeah.
I have questions. Progressive Field,
Okay.
Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, older buildings.
Yes.
That are still great to go to and watch sports games. So have those been taken better care of over time? I don't know. The stadium, it's on the lakefront. It's used 8 to 10 times a year. Is it really the best place for a stadium on your lakefront? I don't know. I could draw a steel man either way. I understand why we would want it in the core of the city. I get that. I could make a strong argument for that.
Right.
Lots of different stakeholders, competing visions, competing interests.
Right.
If you're an NFL owner, team owner these days, you want to develop the real estate around the stadium. That's where the money is.
Yes.
There were moments where I was really excited about the new stadium opportunity out by the airport. There are moments where I think they should stay downtown. I don't have a real strong opinion on it. I do wish that we would have been able to work together a little bit more collaboratively, a little bit more positively,
right.
so that we could have created a win-win solution for everybody. Because the way it's playing out in the news and on the newspaper is not really I think probably most everybody would have liked to have seen them handled a little bit better.
Correct.
And I'm worried that the situation that's lining up right now is the Browns will leave as planned, but there will not be any opportunities for the Browns and the city and the county to work together to reposition the lakefront and the vacant space that they left.
Right. Because my initial thought, and not to go down this rabbit hole, for non-Cleveland folks, the Cleveland football stadium is currently on the lakefront, and there's been conversations about relocating it more to the suburb. That lakefront location is a prime real estate, and given that Cleveland is a snowing city, we probably only use the stadium 8 to 10 times, like you said, and so there's been a lot of opinions about relocating it. And just to bring you up to speed, if you're not from the Cleveland area and you're listening here, and so for me, I would like to see a downtown that feels alive, like I said. Think Chicago downtown.
Yeah.
Very good use of their lakefront. Lots of office around there, lots of retail space, lots of multi-family high-rises, and so not that we need any more expensive luxury high-rises in Cleveland, but I would like to see a downtown Cleveland that feels like that utilizes the space and the features that we have.
Well, it's funny you bring up Chicago because their stadium's on the lakefront too, and they're getting ready to move to the suburbs as well.
Oh, wow.
The Bears are most likely moving to the suburbs.
Oh, so it's like a trend.
It is a trend.
Okay.
Yeah, they want the land around so they can control the parking revenue, they can build apartments and hotels, and right now they don't have that. So
They don't have that space.
I get all of it.
I want to move on to some other things. We've talked about how there are different stakeholders at the table, which creates differing opinions on what do we do, because they have different interests and they're pushing for different interests. But from the consumer perspective, or even maybe economic, political, whatever the case is, what are some of our key habits and preferences that have evolved over, at least in recent years, that, in your opinion, has contributed to this shift?
Changes in real estate?
Yeah.
I think there's two easy ones that everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
The first one is this whole work from home concept. That really did not exist too much before COVID, right?
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and then everyone was working from home.
Correct.
And then a lot of people continued to work from home.
Correct.
So that behavioral change really impacted downtowns as we know them. You look at a downtown, we'll use Cleveland's, a lot of those retailers on the first floor of all the buildings that create the vibrancy on the street, they need workforce in those office towers that come down, buy snacks, buy coffee, do lunches, and then at the end of the day, have a happy hour cocktail or stay for a dinner and go see a show at the theater. Like all of that street front retail needed those bodies in those office buildings. So when you're working from home, all of those retailers are going out, going dark. And then we wonder why we don't have ground floor retail in our cities right now. It's just because we haven't gotten the bodies back.
Yeah, to be able to.
But it's coming back.
For them.
It's coming back.
Okay.
A lot of the larger companies here in town are moving their people back. Huntington's moving people back. Sherwin-Williams will come back soon.
Yes, once their building is complete.
And all that street front retail is also accretive to the multifamily projects that are downtown, because the people that live in those apartment buildings originally moved into them because they like the ability to walk around and go to work and then go to restaurants at nighttime that are now closed. So it's a symbiotic relationship, and when one leg gets knocked out, like the whole thing starts to fall apart. So the work from home was a big issue that created changes in how we use our real estate, how we see our real estate, how our real estate performs. I would also probably say the online retail shopping has been a huge impact. What we can visually see, because I see a lot of vacant storefronts in our neighborhoods. I don't know, how many times does an Amazon truck show up in front of your house? Pretty regularly, or pretty regularly at my house.
Pretty regularly.
My kids click Amazon every day, but so do I. So
in fact, I think when I see the boxes, I go, oh my god, okay, maybe I wonder what my neighbors think of me. And then sometimes I think, okay, maybe I should try to hold off on my shopping until I need like several items, and then I can schedule it all at once, because even I am starting to hate seeing boxes and boxes of stuff that I have to dispose of.
Everyone ordering through Amazon is just eroding away all of these
our retail spaces.
Our retail. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. So you'll have these power retail centers that'll continue to do fine, but it's like all of the small retail,
the mom and pops.
What's the business model for those guys to be able to afford their real estate and their people costs, competing with someone that can just dial up on Amazon and get there? It's very, very difficult. So in addition to online retail, being able to shop through your computer screen, that's obviously impacting your retail storefronts, but it's also driving a demand for distribution space. Right? So all of these distribution facilities have been built out all over the country for the last 5 years. Phoenix, Dallas, Fort Worth, Chicago. These major markets have seen huge booms in industrial warehouse space.
Right,
So rooftop
right.
after rooftop after rooftop of just land being developed, right? So the online retail is making that change happen in our
Right.
communities. And then also all of this is being managed through data centers.
Correct.
So you've got data centers being built to support a lot of this online shopping.
Yes.
And that is impacting our communities. You can't build data centers everywhere. That's only specific communities.
Yes.
Away from, natural disasters, plethora of energy.
Arizona comes to mind.
Yeah, Columbus is getting a lot. Outside of Washington,
that's-
D.C. has a ton. So if you ever fly out of Dulles, you just look out your window, you can
It's
see
all
all
data
of the
centers.
data centers. And then obviously now with the whole AI push, but
Yeah.
the need for data center space will
Is
increase
increased,
even more. But
Yeah.
yeah, online retail has really shifted and changed a lot of things.
A lot of things.
You're gonna have to be creative
Yes.
to make retail work if you're not a Target or a Walmart or a Tractor supply company. Like you have to have, those companies have large economies of scale.
Right.
I noticed a retailer, small bookstore, was going out of business. I understand why. I can dial up a book on Amazon. It'll be on my front porch.
Read on Kindle.
or even a Kindle, and the book is there immediately.
Yeah.
So how do you compete with that?
Yeah.
So bookstore went out. Someone else bought the bookstore, which was surprising. They used the bookstore essentially as a mini warehouse. We're selling the books online through the back door.
Yes.
And then use the front door
As a coffee
as a coffee shop and an old-fashioned bookstore. But really, the majority of the retail sales were through the back door. They were using the coffee shop essentially as their distribution facility.
Right.
They were able to make it work. So you need to be creative like that.
Absolutely.
It's a good example of how you can survive in this marketplace. And perhaps fill back up some of these retail.
That was actually going to be my next question about how business owners can start to adapt, and so I like that a lot. And then even another idea for that person would be hosting book clubs. Book club readings, programming. Because people want more programming, things that would help them get involved, meet friends. Because meeting new friends is so difficult in your adult life.
Experiences.
Yeah, experiences.
You can't duplicate that online quite yet.
Yes. We know what's happening. We know the evolution. We know we're the ones driving it. We're the ones creating this mess, quote, that we find ourselves in. But as a community, as people, how can we proactively plan and guide the evolution of commercial spaces in the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously, we're the consumers, so whatever we want, it will be matched on the other side by the market, and then the real estate developers will show up and build it.
Yes.
I think communities can leverage better land use planning and zoning to kind of control what they see in their communities. Some cities are really good with their zoning code and their planning and their variances and how that works through City Hall. If you travel the country, you will see it. Even out in the suburbs, there's some suburbs that are just meticulously planned, and the code is very clear, and they're inviting to investment and developers. I think some of our older communities that have been around for in excess of 100 years or so, it's more difficult for them because they have to, reinvent or rework 100 years, 200 years of, I'll just call it scar tissue to get everything fixed. So it's understandable why some of the older communities have a struggle with this, where you compare them to a new city or a new suburb, and it's just pretty much greenfield. They can adapt and they can go.
Yes. I have a different appreciation for that because before moving to property management, I was in commercial development for Brookfield, and I worked with both properties that in communities that were already existing, vibrant, and newer ones. And we looked at master planning, and a lot of my work was around facilitating visioning and designing. We would work with external architect to see, okay, this is a green field. There's nothing here.
Much easier,
very much easier, because we know some of the things coming. They're like, okay, in the next 10 years, there's going to be a fast rail from downtown Toronto to this area, and it's coming, and so they're working with the city to plan out an entire community. So that's easier.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yes, it's fun because they're able to think about today's consumer and even see where human behavior consumption is going in the future and plan around that. Versus, to your point, and all the community that's been around for 100 years, like, how do they adapt without breaking down old buildings? They want to preserve historical sites. Yeah. And so there's just lots of levers there.
The complexities are significantly more to navigate for older communities, I think.
Yeah. I find that very fascinating, and I hope our listeners are learning a lot as well, because you touched on work from home earlier. Like, a lot of us younger workers very much appreciate working from home. I personally like more hybrid approach, because sometimes I like my quiet time at home, and sometimes I want to be around people in the office. So, but for the most part, today's workforce craves just isolation. We want to work from home. We don't want to see people. Boom.
But I don't know if that's great.
It's not, because it's destroying, to your point, the workforce. Like, we build resilience in our work, and even learn by observing others next to us. Or
I think it's really hard to learn from other people without sitting next to them. I think it's really hard to build team culture and team mentality when you're separated all over the country by video screens. I think it's really hard for young people to grow their careers without having mentors close by. So I'm even that
emotional.
I think humans love
interaction.
We as humans love interaction. Even the introverts. Occasionally need to be able to say hi and see another person. So coming to the office, I think, is good. It's healthy, and it's probably good for them.
Future of work is still a debate, and lots of opinions about it as well. Not something that we want to get into, but it definitely impacts real estate. It impacts the future of real estate. It impacts the value. It impacts the communities. Like Damon has mentioned, with the retail spaces not getting that foot traffic to drive revenue, which impacts tax dollars, and
all of it.
It comes back. What goes around comes around. My last question for you is around emerging consumer behaviors. Like, think future. Like, right now, we know it's online shopping, and it's driving distribution centers. It's driving these big box data centers. Like,
what else coming down the
pipe? What else could come down the pipe? And
I don't think the whole wave of online retail is totally done yet. Like, I still think there's some corners that have not totally been painted over yet. I'll use the first example is going to be like drugstores. Like, so CVS's, Walgreens, Rite Aids, drug marts. You're going to be able to shop for all of your pharmacy needs online pretty soon.
Amazon's been sending me emails to move over to Amazon Pharmacy.
I mean, it's going to be pretty soon. Like, I mean, I think this is pretty close on the horizon. Okay, that you're going to now. Okay, I'm also getting my pharmaceutical drugs online. So what's going to happen with all of these 10,000 square foot drugstore boxes that we have on major corners all across the United States? So think about every community, every city, count that up. Let's just on average assume there's one of these stores in every community. Like, that's a lot of square footage.
Millions.
So we need to figure out how to reposition. What are we going to do to reposition those pieces of real estate? Banking still is a big question mark for me. I started my career in banking. many moons ago, and that was the time where the internet was just starting.
Yeah.
And they had online banking, and they said this was going to be the beginning of a new wave of how we bank.
Yeah.
Right? And they were anticipating that we wouldn't need as many bank branches. But over the last 20 years, we've just continued to build bank branches.
Right.
When was the last time you went into a bank branch?
Months.
Exactly.
April. Only because I was traveling abroad and I needed cash.
You needed cash for the country that you were heading to.
I need a specific currency. That's the reason.
So pretty soon, I'm going to guess that these bank branches are finally going to go away because the mobile banking, right,
it's pretty good.
Is you can deposit your checks with your phone. You can do it pretty much anything with your phone. So what really is the point of the bank branch? All these bank branches, we're going to need to reposition all these bank branches.
Right.
So
I've never thought of that, but it's true. I don't go into a bank unless...
You don't need to go into a bank.
I don't.
You used to go in and deposit your check, or you used to, pull out money every Friday and put it in your envelope and do your budgets. But no one operates like that anymore. You can open up a checking account on your phone right now.
Correct. And get verified everything online.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what exactly is the role of the bank branch moving forward? I don't think you're going to find a good answer for it, and we'll probably have to reposition all of that real estate. I think electric vehicles. Yeah. This is just beginning. We don't know what this looks like, but we're vastly undercharged right now. Charging stations. If you park your car in your garage, that's great. Every night you charge it, you go to work, you come home, charge it again. But if you don't have a garage, where are you charging your car? If you live in Europe and you live in an apartment building, where do you charge your cars? They're going to have to come up with some kind of solution.
Yeah.
All of the apartment buildings downtown, how many of those garages are fitted out with electric chargers? They might have 3, they might have 5, but not enough. So how are we going to retrofit all of that for charging stations?
Ooh, that's a big one because it was a big conversation when we started to look at parking for high-rise. We would look at ratio of electric.
How many do you need?
Electric to regular spots, and the cost as well, which charging company or bank or whatever, I don't know the terminology for it, should we go with Tesla or just a generic one or something? Like there's just lots of conversations around that. So and then you have to think about all of this just keeps water falling. Do we have a grid right now that can support all of this charging? We probably don't. To the level that we need it to be. If everyone's car was charging at nighttime, we probably don't. Yeah. So you've got a grid upgrade required, and then once you complete your grid upgrade and you have everyone on electric vehicles and they're all being charged, okay, now what are we going to do with all the gas stations? So it's just a ripple effect of what we do and how that impacts our real estate world around us. Wow. Yeah. That's a question for listeners to think about what could be coming. And if you're thinking the way I'm thinking, what should I be investing in? That's the light bulb that went on in my head when you said that. It's like, as just a consumer today, what should I be investing in that could pick up in the next 5-10 years? What could become the next NVIDIA? Yeah. So, food for thought to the listeners. Definitely I've learned so much. I love this conversation. I mean, like I said, it's just like any coffee chat that we've had anyway. Yeah, no, it was great. Around this topic. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Just to recap for the listeners, we've talked a lot about our consumer behaviors and how it's impacting the economies and just things around us. So think about your behavior today. think about it when you go to order that next thing from Amazon. Do I really need to go to Amazon for this, or can I just go to the store, the Walmart, the Target next to me in my neighborhood to pick it up on my way to work? Not saying don't spend your money how you want, but think about that and think about the revenue that brings to your community, because that impacts your property value or even tax dollars. Just things generally. We've talked about what we could be doing, what retail, how we could be repositioning these communities, these buildings that are going empty, and there's lots to think about it. So think about your choice of who you're voting for. That impacts the conversations that we have around zoning, around land use. And you could probably go to your community town hall meetings just to listen in and chime in and contribute to these conversations, just so that your voice is heard. Another reminder to us is Allegro Realty Advisory is hiring for top talent. And if you think you are a top talent, go to their job site, the career page, and look up something. You know Damon here. Maybe you can look him up on LinkedIn or something and say, I listen to 9 to 5 and everything in between.
I'm out there.
For sure, but make sure you come correct, make sure your resume looks good, and make sure you have the right talents, make sure you meet the job requirements that's listed. This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much.
I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So, listeners, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube for the visual and for the audio as well. Remember, you are the architect of your journey, and you can carve your future in whatever shape or form that you want. The future is yours. The decision is yours. You can follow us on social media platforms at The 9 to 5 Blueprint, and visit our website www.the9to5blueprint.com to learn more. See you on the next one. Bye.